Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this introduction to the new HubKor, one hub to connect all to SyteLine. Gary Moyle, president of HubKor, will take you through this presentation. And I'd like to start with just a few housekeeping items to note. We will be muting all microphones to keep background noises to a minimum. And if you have any questions during the presentation, simply enter them in the chat area. Gary will be addressing those and live questions following the presentation. We are also recording this presentation and should have it available shortly on our website as well as on the Sun website. And our website is HubKor.com. So I'll turn it over to you, Gary.
Okay, thanks, Rochelle, and welcome everybody. Can you hear me okay and see my screen, Rochelle?
I can.
Okay, let's get going then. I think this should be fairly short, everybody. We should be wrapped up in 20 to 30 minutes, I guess, for my piece of the presentation. And then depending on questions, obviously those will follow on in the time required. So with no further ado, I'll get going. A little about HubKor, who don't know us. We have been around for about a decade now. We joined the Infor partnership in 2012. Prior to that, we were an HubKor partner. We achieved gold status in 2015. And our primary focus is a little different to many SyteLine partners in that we focus primarily in the service world, and then secondarily manufacturing. So we went in a different path to many traditional SyteLine partners that you might know. What this is all about is edge solutions for our ERP system. So I won't read this whole slide to you, but ERP has changed, of course, over the 40, 50, 60 years ERP has been around. And in the title you see there, I think it's vital now. If you're going to start a business, you really need an ERP to not be disadvantaged, okay? They're no longer competitive advantage. They predominantly look inside each of the four walls. Yeah, they reduce cost and we can work on efficiencies. We don't have disparate systems all around the organization. Very transactional based. But some of the latter points on here is, some of the advance that we've seen recently. We've had the BI and the analytics, which has helped. Most ERP systems are available in the cloud today. We don't need servers and server rooms and so on. Certainly the one we enjoy is very personalizable, as we all know probably. But predominantly the reason we're here today is to talk about the edge solutions, the things we still need outside of our ERP systems to run our businesses effectively. And that's really what we're talking to you about today. What has Infor done? What is the Infor strategy to edge solutions? And Infor's solution typically to date has been to buy them, right? It's a fairly simple solution. If you have deep pockets, there's the great products out there. You buy them, you brand them Infor, and you integrate them with your ERP system. And it's not just Infor, by the way. Everybody does this. Oracle, SAP, HubKor, you name it. Everybody does this. And there's a few names out there that many of you will know that Infor have gone out in the past, and there are many more as well that are not on my slide. But in effect, these are ERP vendors going out to the marketplace, buying the edge solution. Or alternatively, there is one on the right, and there might be more as well. But Infor actually took it upon themselves to build one as well as buy them, which is fairly unusual. And there's a product in the Infor staple for MES, which is called Factory Track. But they're all edge solutions. And this is the Infor strategy to give you, in effect, one vendor offer. The late entrants to the market who came along, much later, and these are two of them, of many, where Infor has its heritage back in the 80s, like Microsoft and other ERP vendors. These two guys, NetSuite and Acumatica, they're more recent to the ERP space, and they didn't go down the same path. So their strategy is to build a core ERP and a competent core ERP. And they're not trying to follow legacy. I call legacy ERP, people who've been around 40, 50 years like Infor. And their strategy is not to try and follow that strategy. Okay, so they've said, hey, let's just build the edge applications with the best of breed. Don't try, right? They're just too good. Let's not try and do it. And they acknowledge that the best of breed edge solutions can't be caught by the ERP vendors. It's just not possible. So their strategy has been to create a channel partner opportunity to build integrations to those best of breed edge solutions. So they are already thinking in that way, and that's how they come to market. And I created a list. You guys will all have your own lists, I'm sure. What are the typical edge solutions that many of us need? And I won't go through them all, but the first few on the left are very common. CRM is an absolute, guarantee. Nearly everybody is using CRM today. E-commerce, CPQ, expense management. There's some more niche things on there, and I won't go through the whole list. You all know the edge solutions that you need, you use to enhance your ERP system and to round it out for all of the other things that you need, of course, as well. Well, what about the best of breed guys out there? So if I just pick a name, right, we'll pick Salesforce, because I think everybody knows Salesforce. These are what makes it difficult for the ERP vendors to follow. Salesforce concentrate on CRM, right? They're highly focused. They do one thing. And the ERP vendors typically can't follow. They can't focus on one thing, and they shouldn't try to either. An ERP vendor is trying to offer an enterprise-wide system, not laser focus on one thing. These people are very nimble as well. They change quickly. They change on a dime. They're often at the leading edge of technology as well. They're exploring the latest technologies. They're very fast to innovate. They see what is happening, what the needs are in the marketplace, and they, in effect, innovate before we even know what we need, right? So that's how quick these people are. And what happens is, and that's the bottom point that I mentioned earlier, these ERP vendors like Infor, SAP, Microsoft, Oracle, they acquire these solutions, but I think the question many of us ask is, does it work? Is it a good strategy? Does the ERP vendor maintain those same qualities once they've purchased that best of breed, nimble, leading edge, fast to innovate company? And, everybody can have their opinion on whether that works or not. I think most people might suggest that often those attributes and those strengths get lost when they go purchased by an ERP vendor. Something that happens for most companies today, and I've got an example of some comments that I received from Dreamforce up there, but we've already heard, no longer an advantage, right? It's not a differentiator. There's no competitive advantage in having an ERP. We're all lucky enough to enjoy one of the best, of course, with SyteLine, but there's really no differentiation for anybody. And I went along to Dreamforce, which, for those who don't know, that is Salesforce's annual conference. And I was there to try and find some leads, actually, for people who might want a new ERP system. And as I talked to people, I got quite a shock. And I shouldn't have, in hindsight, because the people I met had turned around and said they've stopped their investment in ERP. And the only drivers that they would consider changing their ERP for were as if their existing system was going to become obsolete and there was risk, or there was some new technology, or there was a reduction in cost for them. They didn't really see ERP investment being part of their future. Instead, they said they were moving their IT investment to only those things that would grow their business or provide competitive advantage in the marketplace. And they didn't see that being ERP. So, I've still got my notes from Dreamforce, and these are the 5 things that came out where their money was going. And those are CRM, e-commerce, self-service portals, telematics, and Internet of Things. There are many things on my list, by the way, but those were the ones that just repeated time after time after time. And major corporations were moving their investment to these topics. That created a heavy investment in these best-of-breed edge solutions that could deliver these goals that they had. They said they had already invested heavily, and they were planning on investing even heavier in the future. And this is a quote that I wrote down from one of the gentlemen I was talking to. And he said, it's a new dawn. He said, the tail is wagging the dog. He said, the ERP solution is the edge solution. So anyway, I thought those were fun, but there's a serious message in there that, investment is very much moving to added value tools, growing the business, creating competitive advantage. Now, I'd have to say, let's all admit, I am at a Salesforce conference there, of course, so, take that with what you will. There are tools out there today that you can get that already integrate, and they've been around many years, actually many decades even, tools that integrate our ERP solutions to the best of breed, okay? There are many, many, many out there. I've listed 3. They're arguably the biggest 3. You might have already known them. You might already use them. But Jitterbit, MuleSoft, and Boomi have a massive presence in the industry. They're loosely coupled, right? They pretty much say they will connect any ERP system to any best of breed edge solution out there. We'll use Salesforce again, because that's the one I've talked about. But they're loosely coupled. They still have to have the last mile integration done, okay? If you pick SyteLine or you pick LN or you pick SAP or you pick NetSuite, they're not going to be tightly coupled to those solutions. So you still have to spend money as well as the subscription to finish that last mile connection. They're very high cost. They're very profitable companies. They're very successful companies. And an example there, if you call MuleSoft and ask them for an integration between Salesforce and SyteLine, prices start at $80,000 a year. Now, another downside is it takes time to get that value. Okay, what these guys are, they're very capable, very good at what they do, but they are jacks of all trades. They offer every integration to every ERP system, to every edge solution. Okay, and in effect, they can't keep pace with what the ERP vendors are doing, their latest functionality, their changes to their schemas, their change into their API. They can't keep pace with everything, of course, but they are jacks of all trades. They're very good at what they do, and they've been around now for a couple of decades. So those guys are out there. Really what we're saying and what we're bringing with HubKor is something in between. Okay, so yes, you can write a tightly coupled integration, one-to-one between SyteLine and a solution. That's certainly available. Or you can go to a Jitterbit or a MuleSoft or a Boomi, and you can get a generic solution. What we're releasing is something that's in between. I'm not sure this is a secret weapon, but okay, I thought that was an interesting title for the slide. And I got this back from 2015, those who might remember. But in 2015, Infor introduced ION, the Intelligent Open Network. And the concept of ION is literally a hub, right? It's a hub in its own right. You have an ERP system, and in effect, this also connects to pretty much all Infor ERP systems, but the one we're interested in today, obviously, is SyteLine. It then talks, as you move down the PowerPoint there, to what was Data Lake in the day and now is called Data Fabric if you modernize that. But when you saw this slide at the time, it was all about the Infor systems, right? Warehouse management, Road Warrior locally, Infor Mingle, sales dashboards, and all that good stuff. It was very much internal. It was very much about connecting to all of the original Infor systems, and that's changed over time, of course. So what we've done is we've took that away and said, okay, that's not really what we're about. We're trying to connect you to all the best of breed solutions out there. So we've created the equivalent of an ION, and we've connected our hub to ION, right? So 2 hubs are connected to each other now. This is in the cloud, of course. And in effect, what we're doing now is we are breaking out all of our best of breed solutions, and we're writing those as we speak, and we've written many of them, as you can see. So the idea is we're leveraging the same idea as Infor ION, write the connection once. And if I think, for example, a great example here is a customer, right? I've got SyteLine, I've got the customer master. It's a standard bod. Okay, ION recognizes the customer. HubKor recognizes the customer from SyteLine. And now, as you move around that wheel and you look on the outside of the spokes, not all, but most of those third-party products will require the customer. So we have, take Salesforce, for example. The customer has to be sent and passed in both directions there. It does with Shopify, Magento. Those are both e-commerce solutions. Concur, it's not really relevant. It could be relevant, perhaps. MES, PLM discrete, SpecIt, IT. I'll tell you a little bit more about those. But in effect, we've written it once. So where our specialism is required, and we've created these relationships. So we have a relationship with, well, we actually have an employee on the Salesforce side. So we have SyteLine experience, we have Ion experience, we have Salesforce experience, and obviously HubKor is our proprietary product. So we know that, of course, as well. So we can handle the whole implementation of an integration between SyteLine and Salesforce. With some of the others, we don't profess to have all the knowledge, so we've created relationships. So we have a partnership with a Shopify expert, a partnership with a Magento expert. So again, we are in effect a one-stop shop. Or maybe today, you know, if you've already invested heavily in Shopify, for example, for your e-commerce solution, you've probably already got a relationship with somebody who helps you with that, but we can provide all of that as well. So this is what we're looking to bring to market. There are best of breed products on there, as you can see, and you probably know all the names. But I'll go around there. Salesforce, CRM, number one, of course, by a country mile. Shopify, Magento, Concur. You know, Concur is the number one expense management system. But then they become a little bit more specialized after that. And this is because customers have asked us to write specialized integrations that we found very quick because we've already got the half of it together, right? The SyteLine to Ion to HubKor, that's already written. So when we talk about Siemens, for example, Siemens is an MES system. We found that very simple to write and connect. Materialize Streamix, same thing. It's a scheduling tool for 3D printing. So these down the bottom, Infor, this was a nice one. Infor actually called us and asked us to write this one. So Infor asked us to write the integration to PLM discrete. And then SpecIt is for the furniture industry. It's like a CAD system for the furniture industry. So these are not industry-specific products. These are industry-specific products, rather, as opposed to best of breed. But what it's allowed us to do, because we have the infrastructure, we're finding it very quick and very inexpensive to write those integrations to the specific solutions that our customers are asking for as well. So that's the idea of what we're looking for to achieve in the marketplace. And obviously these spokes will continue, you know, as customers request. And at the end of the presentation, I'll be talking to you about the roadmap of what we have also ready to go soon, i.e. these will be coming in the next 12 months or so. So that's the vision of what we have. I'm going to take you through a few of them and talk to you about really why this makes sense, what the strength of it is. So I'm going to use Salesforce for a lot of this because we can all relate to Salesforce. Many of us can. Really, this is the strength of actually having somebody as opposed to a Boomi or a Jitterbit or these guys who do generic integrations. What we've done is, you know, we understand SyteLine and we understand our customers of SyteLine. So we've written very deep, tightly coupled integrations back to SyteLine. And if you look at the breadth of this, okay, I'm going to bring my cursor over here. Most integrations with Salesforce will be these two, okay? We'll pass backwards and forwards master data, and we'll pass sales type information, okay? That's what most people do. But because we know SyteLine well, and we know what the greater market requires, our integration handles forecasting, it handles service, it handles rental, and it handles projects as well. Now, you won't find anybody out there who's gone that deep with their integration between SyteLine and Salesforce. Okay, up here we have to write these objects, of course, because they don't exist in Salesforce. So not only have we written the integration with our HubKor product, we've gone further than that, and we've actually created service objects, rental objects, project objects in Salesforce as well. So not only are we handling the SyteLine and the Infor piece, we're actually extending the application of Salesforce as well. That's a very high level on Salesforce. And I go a little deeper and I'll try and go through these pretty quick. But again, it's now we're looking at the master data piece, how deep we're going into there, okay? And up here again, you've got your Salesforce, and we've had to create more objects in here, right? This is master data, prospects, customers, bill to, so on and so forth, okay? But it shows the depth of the master data that we're aware of and we're moving all the way through to Salesforce, and where necessary. And this example here, for example, is another case where we've created an object in Salesforce that doesn't exist today to take on a service partner, because you can't pass a service order or an incident and so on unless you actually have the partners in Salesforce as well. This one is the obvious one that I think I mentioned to you. Most people are offering this integration, right? This is the sales integration with Salesforce, and most people offer this. It's fairly standard stuff. Okay, down here I've got my customers, my customer interactions, my orders, my complaints, estimates, shipments, invoices, ARs, and RMAs, right? I would say pretty much everybody is offering this one, right? There's really nothing special about this. And it's all the same thing in the Salesforce environment. This is a fairly common integration. I wouldn't say there's anything special. There might be a few specials in there, for example. You know, the RMAs might be a little bit more than what most of the people are doing. Customer interactions, obviously, is pretty specific to SyteLine, of course. But predominantly, that's a fairly generic integration, I would suggest. The service, you know, that's very different. Not many people are writing a service integration. And again, Salesforce, you know, service orders, service order doesn't exist. We built all of this, a service contract to a service contract. Dispatching and scheduling to be service appointments in Salesforce, service appointments to become service appointments too, and then incidents become cases in Salesforce. On the rental side, there's a new rental module that we've released recently. If you're doing rental in SyteLine, we've written the integration again so the rental industry can enjoy all the rental requirements as well. And then the last one for Salesforce is forecasting, the ability to use the forecasting tool in SyteLine and push all of this into Salesforce forecasting tools as well. And lastly, projects. You know, this is really, if you're coming close to the construction industry, perhaps, is a good example where you'll be using projects. And again, we've written a full integration from projects in SyteLine, and we've had to create all these objects in Salesforce. They don't exist. So we've pretty much took the breadth of SyteLine. And in effect, one of the strengths, if you're aware of you're using SyteLine CRM as opposed to a third-party CRM, one of the strengths of using SyteLine CRM is you can pretty much drive into everything within the ERP system. And that's really what we're trying to say with Salesforce is, yes, you can have Salesforce, you can have the best CRM system in the marketplace, and yes, you can pretty much have a 360-degree view of pretty much all the operational data in your business as well. That's what we're trying to achieve. The rest of them, we don't go to that detail. You'll be glad to know. But I thought I'd use Salesforce to really use and talk about the depth of what we've created. The next one is e-commerce. So there's two ways e-commerce works. There's business to business and business to consumer. This is more of a business to business flow. And really, it's all about the payment and credit cards and so on, and coupons and things like that make such a big difference in the business to business versus the business to consumer and credit terms and so on. But in effect, we've got 4 layers here, as you might see down the gray bar. We have the customer who's typically sat at a smartphone or a tablet or a computer trying to interact with our portal, of course, which in this case is Magento. Magento is the next layer. That's what they're interacting with, of course. Then there's the HubKor area. And in this case, the HubKor area works slightly different to Salesforce, and I'll talk about that. And then there's all the SyteLine pieces. So we don't need to get wrapped up in the flow, but in effect, the customer is buying something online typically. Okay, the order is flowing through. The order then comes into HubKor. And this is where we offer some added value as well here in the HubKor integration tool. It's acting like an admin panel. And if any of you do EDI on the call today, you might come across something like this. An EDI order comes in. It can be pushed out to, let's call it an offline stage where you're allowed to review it. Things will not get through because of testing, and it actually does validation on the order. Maybe there isn't a price. So the EDI world already knows this concept. But this is what this is doing. It's adding more value to the process, and it's saying, hey, I'm not just going to throw anything through the integration tool, HubKor, into SyteLine until we're all happy with it. So there's 2 ways of doing it. We can do an auto approve, and that's okay. As long as it passes the test, it will automatically go through to ERP. But also we're going to hold them as well. So if you choose, you can review the orders in HubKor and then release them one at a time or in batches or in part a bit of each. You can actually have those that actually flow from certain customers that you trust, and those others you might not allow them to flow. You might hold them, or maybe it's basically on is the data lining up with what you expect? Is there a price? Do I know that customer? And so on. So there's added value going on here with the Magento and Shopify integrations instead of just acting like middleware. And then back here, it's all about, once the system has produced a shipping and sent the product to the customer, now we're communicating back to the customer, of course. And as I mentioned before, this payment piece may or may not have happened at order entry, okay, depending if you're in the business to consumer area. So there are two flows, but I thought, we didn't need to see every possible flow that is available. This is a slide, and if you noticed, you might have not noticed, you have to look in the top left, but that changed because Shopify is exactly the same thing, by the way. It's just a different version of an e-commerce platform, but in effect, the flows are identical. Expense management. We had a little extra value here as well over a standard Concur integration. Many people offer Concur integrations to ERP today. And these down here are pretty standard, right? This is Concur. This is expense management only. Do want to clarify. It's not their accounts payable offering. It's just for expense management. And in effect, it works like many off-the-shelf integrations. All of these gray boxes down here are standard Concur fields, and we allow them to all come through to standard SyteLine fields as well. The extra added value we've added, though, is we can actually push these expenses to the main objects. And it really depends on how this object expects that expense to come through. So it could be a purchase order and a receipt. It could be an accounts payable transaction. It could be a miscellaneous transaction. It really is going to feed the type of transaction that these objects require. And I've got 3 on here: jobs, service orders, and projects being the main objects, which expenses are hitting, of course. A lot of people will want that extra added value to go to the 3 objects, the 3 main objects. But a lot of people are also quite happy to just have these posted to the general ledger. Obviously, all the approval is going on in Concur, and they want to, in effect, just post this to the general ledger right at the end. And that's common. That is, most of the flows are just posting from Concur to the general ledger. But we've added these 3 as well. PLM Discrete, or this has been written and requested of us by Info. PLM Discrete is a cloud-based solution now as of about, I think about 3 or 4 months ago. It's a new SKU. It's now no longer available on the price list. So Info asked us to write this integration because we had HubKor. And we wrote that, and PLM is PLM. Those on the line who know what PLM is, I didn't want to go too detailed, but it's a way of taking control of the amendments to your item master, basically, in your manufacturing. So it's passing backwards and forwards items, routings, bombs, references, and designators to an external solution for you to control those changes in a PLM system, and then obviously bring those changes often back into your ERP system to continue manufacturing and so on. So that is a one-off specialist thing we've done. It's not a best of breed, of course. Okay, change of direction is the roadmap. What else have we got on our eyes on here to continue to write more spokes around the hub? So CRM, we've got four candidates to write more CRM integrations: Dynamics 365, Sugar, Pipedrive, and Aptivo. E-commerce, we've got 2 of the big 3 already written. BigCommerce makes up the big 3, and outside of those big 3, there really aren't many players in the best of breed e-commerce. Marketing, this has been our most popular request to date, HubSpot. So HubSpot is very important for us to jump on. People are getting into HubSpot to build their business and do marketing. And then MailChimp, Constant Contact, and Zoho will come along as well. We need to finish off our expense management. We have the biggest and the best today, one might argue, with Concur, but also Expensify has good traction, so we intend to link up to Expensify as well. Document management might surprise you. Infor has a very credible and capable document management system built in. Certainly if you go with the cloud, You get it part of the technical stack, which is called Info Document Management. But again, lots of people have invested heavily in their solutions to date, and they don't want to move away. And so certainly DocuWare, we come across DocuWare all the time. So we're going to write an integration to DocuWare, and then Dropbox and Box. But DocuWare is the prime that we've been asked for. Shipping, the two big shipping solutions that we get asked for are EasyShip and ShipStation. And lastly, OEM. This is a big topic. And this is really if you need to connect to your OEMs. Certainly in the service industry, we come across it a lot because we primarily work in the service industry. And people want access to their OEM information. And the common ones are price books and catalogs and technical information, and they want access to that directly. Most of these OEMs offer an API into that information. They know their dealers and their service centers need access to this information, of course. And there are hundreds of these, by the way. This will take a long time before we've got all of our connections to all the OEMs we're looking for. That's where we're going in the next 12, 18 months to round out the hub and all the spokes that we intend to generate. But what I would say to anybody is, as you saw on the original, we've already created, I think, 5 or 6 custom solutions for customers who've come along. And, that's okay as well. So, if you're a SyteLine user today and you need an integration, you obviously have many choices from the industry standards to your partners to using something like HubKor. But we are certainly there should you wish to have anything like that designed, and we can do that for you as well. So that's the end. You'll be pleased to know. I have a contact slide. We are going to be at Sun. So those of you who are coming along to Sun in Orlando, we will be there. We have a booth. We are exhibiting. We're also making a presentation on Monday, 28th at 4 p.m. And you can come along and see the software and see it in action, and we'll have technical people there for you, and we'll do cool things like, create a customer in SyteLine and watch it appear in Salesforce and vice versa, and put an order in Magento and watch it hit SyteLine and all those great things. You'll be able to come along and get a demonstration on the product. So look forward to seeing you, we hope, at the Sun conference where you can learn a lot more about it. And then obviously our normal contacts here, anybody who's interested in what we've talked to you about today, contacts are there. And I believe, like Rochelle said, the presentation will be sent out. I'm not sure it's been sent out to you or it's going to be on the Sun website. I think that might be it. It'll be on our website, of course. So please feel free to reach out and ask us more questions about this and get demonstrations and so on for your requirements. And we'll also be talking to anybody who's interested. Last month, we launched our rental industry pack as well. So both products will be on show at the Sun conference on March 28th to the 30th. So that concludes things. Rochelle, it took a bit longer than I thought, 35 minutes. Okay, my bad. I thought it'd be about half an hour. If there's any questions, happy to answer them or try to, or if I can't answer them, I'll take note and get back to you separately. Are there any questions, Rochelle?
At the moment, we don't have any in chat. If you would like to ask a question, you can simply unmute your line. Just click the microphone on the right of your screen and click for more options, and you can just hit the unmute at that point.
All quiet, Rochelle. Looks like we got a wrap.
I think you covered everything they were interested in hearing. But again, can you put the contact screen back on, please? Again, if you have any questions regarding what you've seen today, or if you've got a third-party solution that you're interested in integrating with SyteLine, please feel free to reach out to either of us that you see listed there. We'll be happy to answer those questions and talk with you further about it. Otherwise, let's see. We do have a question. Craig?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say there was a question in the chat. Somebody asked, what is the pricing model like? I'm also interested in that.
Yeah, each of the solutions has their own price. Let's call it a price list, let's say. So depending on the complexity, they all come with, they're all SaaS based. So that's one thing I think I can clarify is everything is a subscription. It's a SaaS-based license, and you get, with some of these, they're very much turnkey. They have the possibility of being turnkey. And I often use the Salesforce one as well because it's the biggest. What inevitably happens is the turnkey solution is as it suggests. You plug it in. It takes some configuration, of course. But then many customers will say, oh, but hold on, I've created 10 of these fields in Salesforce that are not in standard Salesforce, and you guys obviously don't have them as part of your integration. So there are two ways to price the product. There is, let's call it the turnkey solution, which is a SaaS-based solution. And then obviously there is professional services that goes along with that. Should you say, hey, I have these 10 fields in Salesforce and I need to create an integration, I need to extend the integration to take account of those, and those would be managed professional services. So simple answer to your question is it's a SaaS-based model. Each one of the products is different. And, please contact us, directly if you want some pricing on it.
Are there any additional questions?
Okay,
Well, again,
Rochelle.
I'd like to thank everyone for attending today. We will be at Sun, so please, if you've got questions or you're interested in a personal demonstration, just let us know. We're happy to set that up for you at our booth, which is booth 20. Otherwise, we will have our breakout session at 4 o'clock on March 28th, which is Monday, and you'll be able to see both of the products demonstrated in the one session. Thank you again for attending, and we look forward to seeing you at Sun. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.